All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are taking on a huge story. The huge story, our story. We're going to travel back millions and millions of years to figure out how in the world did we get here?
Okay, so before we can even get to us, you've got to wrap your head around this number. 4.5 billion years. That's how old our planet is. It's just a ridiculously long time, right? Almost impossible to really feel.
So if you think of Earth's history as this enormous ancient book, our entire story, all of human history, it's like the very last sentence on the very last page. That's it. So yeah, let's zoom in and read that final page. So we're going to break this epic journey down into 5 main acts. We'll start with deep time, then cover that first huge step we took, the dawn of tools, becoming a global species, and finally, what gave us, sapiens, the ultimate edge.
All right, Act 1, a journey into deep time. Let's talk about the engine that drives all of this change.
You know, for centuries, the idea was that every living thing was just fixed, unchanging. But then, in the 1800s, this guy Charles Darwin comes along and just blows that idea out of the water. He proposed this powerful, driving force he called natural selection.
And the idea is actually pretty straightforward, but it's totally profound. Basically, the environment itself kind of chooses who wins. If you have a trait that helps you survive and have kids in your specific environment, well, you pass that trait on. Do that for thousands and thousands of generations, and boom, species start to change. They adapt. And this is the very process that made us.
Okay, so let's get to Act 2, the first revolutionary step. Because our story, it doesn't start with some grand triumph. No, it starts with a crisis. So picture this, East Africa, maybe 7 million years ago. Our ancestors are these primate guys, living pretty comfortably up in the trees of these lush forests. But then, disaster strikes. The climate shifts, the earth literally shakes, and those forests start to disappear, replaced by wide-open grasslands. For a creature built to live in trees, this was a massive, massive problem.
So what do? Well, the solution was a total game changer. They stood up, they started walking on 2 feet. And this wasn't just about moving differently. Suddenly, you could see over the tall grass to spot predators. But the real kicker? It freed up the hands. This is absolutely key. And the pioneers who figured this out, we call them Australopithecines. You've probably heard of the most famous one, Lucy. These guys show up around 4 million years ago, and they're the ones who really start to master this new walking lifestyle, totally setting the stage for everything else. And now for Act 3, the first artisans. Because freeing up those hands, that wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of an incredible evolutionary chain reaction.
Think about it. You've got free hands, so you start using tools. But using tools takes brain power. You have to plan. You need dexterity. That cognitive workout drives the brain to grow bigger. And a bigger brain? Well, it invents even better tools. See the cycle? It's this amazing feedback loop that just keeps pushing innovation forward.
And this feedback loop is what gives rise to our very own genus, Homo. And you can just see the progression. It starts with Homo habilis, the handyman, making these really simple stone choppers. Then you get Homo erectus, who levels up with better tools and gets control of fire, a huge deal. Then Homo heidelbergensis gets even more sophisticated, mastering complex stonework and even building the first shelters. Each one adds another crucial piece to the puzzle, leading right to us, Homo sapiens.
Homo erectus is a really big deal in our story. These guys were the real pioneers. They're walking fully upright, they've got fire, which means cooking, warmth, protection. But the biggest thing, they're the first ones to walk right out of Africa and start spreading across the globe.
So this brings us to Act 4, a global species. Because for a huge chunk of our history, and this is wild to think about, we were not alone. The world was full of different kinds of humans.
Seriously, just try to imagine that. A world where you could, in theory, meet a different species of human. You had the strong, stocky Neanderthals thriving in Ice Age Europe. You had the mysterious Denisovans out in Asia. Our family tree wasn't a straight line. It was this bushy, diverse thing with all these different branches.
And then, Act 5, the sapiens advantage. About 200,000 years ago, back in Africa, a new character enters the stage. Us, Homo sapiens. And our arrival was about to change the game completely.
So as we sapiens start moving out of Africa, we run into our cousins, the Neanderthals, who'd been living in Europe for ages. And if you look at them side by side, on paper, it looks like a pretty even match. They were tough, smart, their brains were even a little bigger than ours. But we had a secret weapon.
So what was it? Well, it all came down to how our brains were wired. See, the Neanderthal brain seems to have been highly visual. Ours, on the other hand, had these huge areas dedicated to complex, abstract language. And that was the ace up our sleeve.
Because what does language get you? Everything. It lets you plan complex hunts together. It lets you build bigger, more stable communities. You can create shared stories, myths, a whole culture. But here's the most important part. You can pass down knowledge. What one generation learns doesn't die with them. It gets passed on, built upon, and refined. It's like a collective superpower.
And that cognitive superpower, it was decisive. In the end, the Neanderthals disappeared. So did the Denisovans, all the other human species vanished. And by about 30,000 years ago, there was only one left standing. Us, the sole human inheritors of the entire planet.
So when you look back, it's just an unbelievable story of adaptation. We went from being these scared primates on a savanna to a species that literally shapes the face of the globe. And after that epic journey, after outlasting everyone else, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's next for the last humans on Earth?
History isn't dust, it's a journey through time. Here on History LM, we tell it simply and fast. If you love discovering the past in just a few minutes, hit like and follow History LM. Your next journey through time is waiting.